as well and pop his ulti in about 8 seconds to be able to team fight. But I think he'll probably play it safe.
And
I mean,
it would, honestly,
so far ahead.
It's 1,000 gold buyback. Normally it'd be worth it at this point in the game, but he's so far ahead that, yeah, he probably doesn't want to.
Yeah, they don't need it to push. They can just kind of delay this a bit. If he can get his heart up in the next 5 or 6 minutes, something like that, it'll just continue his streak. And if he does have to buy back and force some kind of a team fight, then it could delay his late game victory. You just have to make it to the late game. Keep your item progression going. Generally, buying back is going to hurt you in a pub game more than help, but we do have to see it enforce it sometimes to try to get better team fights.
So I guess the question now is, what should Zenith be doing? And I mentioned split pushing. I mentioned farming the next items. I mentioned not taking 5v5 clashes. I feel the other thing they may want to try and do here is bait IG into a bad engagement. Maybe force some of these heroes out of position. If Spectre wastes Haunt and you just back off, or if you fight when Haunt's on cooldown, you'll have a big advantage. So if you can catch 430 out, force him into a bad fight, that would be ideal, but it might be possible with XY having a BKB. He's that one hero who, even if they go on him, could probably get himself out of harm's way without any trouble. There's actually no way to lock him down while he's BKB'd, so that might be an option for Zenith, but IG are just grouping and moving with such kind of confidence and organization that it might be harder than... It sounds nice in theory, basically, but can they actually find those openings? It'll be tough. They're actually just going to make a really bold go here. They'll use Vendetta, and they'll walk straight up 2 hills, past the river, without detection. They're pushing this top lane. They're going to find someone teleporting in. They don't even know if an Observer Ward's here, but they say, heck, screw it, let's go for it. And Joe chooses this moment to haunt. The jig is up, and he's thinking about going on top. Ice. Going to die to the Radiance Burn alone. Never even reality'd in for that. Now is going to dagger forward, giving chase onto XY. The dagger will never stop following you. It's very sad to play against the Spectre. And in the end, Ice picked off. They want to go for those kills, but Joe just haunts and the jig is up.
What how scary that is if you just press Haunt and you realize the whole enemy team's like 5 feet away from ganking you. And instead he turns it around, he goes after the Storm Spirit and is unable to kill him, unfortunately. But Nature's Prophet did go down in the meantime.
Yeah, he's still the lead farmer this game, and you look at Zenith, their lineup really wants to be ahead, but they're behind. It's hard to play from behind against Spectre. And now IG, 30 minutes in, is just pushing mid with Spectre in the front lines, even went Radiance build, which is a build that normally takes you until like the 35-40 minutes mark to really kick in, since it delays your tanking items, it delays your best direct combat items, but Joe, he'll get one now. He's got a Reaver, and once you get the Reaver, the Heart is sure to follow. Very hard to farm the Reaver, not hard at all to farm the recipe. And once the Heart's up, oh, it's going to be tough to kill him. Very tough.
Their single target damage is a bit lacking.
Shackle, mid lane, creep to hero, going to connect. In comes XY. He's got a BKB. Chuan's held in position, but he's not dead yet. OD ult was deployed. Joe doesn't have his ultimate. Doesn't even matter. Everybody's fighting in the shadow of the Zenith base. They surge forward. They want these kills. They find the Nyx assassin. They will back off. They found 2. That was without Haunt. That was without a Dream Coil. And that is not good for Zenith.
Do you think that's the only reason they lost that fight, though? I mean, it seems like a whole lot of AoEs flying out of Zenith in the fight.
What I'm saying is, if IG had Coil and Haunt, that could have been a 5-man team wipe. I mean, they had the Coil, they didn't use it. And Haunt was on cooldown. That's pretty fearsome. Imagine if they had used those spells.
Yeah, it would have been pretty sick. Haunt alone, I mean, it's Radiance Burn, but if it's up for 7 seconds, we're talking about, what, 350 magic damage? For an ultimate that previously did no guaranteed magic damage
on every hero.
On every hero on the map, no matter, unless they have a BKB active. That's the only way that's not going to
just the Radiance damage. Then if your illusions, we get 2 or 3 Desolate attacks off. That's another nearly 200 damage on each hero, plus whatever the regular attack damage for the illusions is, plus whatever your main hero's doing, and that's just the Spectre. That's like the entire enemy team in half HP or less. You throw a Coil, an Orb on top of that. Again, Spectre and Puck are just, they're so synergistic. These 2 heroes are like best friends. It's like peanut butter and jelly. They really work well together. And we might see them make it go mid. XY, well, he'll back off. Good news is with the BKB, he's pretty hard to gank.
Really surprisingly, we see a Yule Scepter picked up on Puck. It does give you 35 extra movement speed, pretty much a boots in its own right. Pretty useful against things like silences and other small temporary disables that you can still cast your item through. But other than that, it's oftentimes not always the best item. There's no Chronosphere or like Void on the enemy team, but there are a lot of diving heroes, so I guess you could use this offensively to save some of your allies.
IG, it's their debut match in the Alienware Cup, and right now things are actually looking pretty damn good for them. Surprisingly at that. Let's see if they can continue this early start. They're now leading by 26-9, about 10k gold If they win game 1, they'll have 1 point. If they take 2, they'll have a 2-0 sweep over Zenith, as well as maybe their mojo back. XY bottom lane. There's a blink as well as a hasted 430 giving chase. He orbs forward. Now XY got a TP out while he's zipping away. He will be able to escape. Forced to use all of his mana for that escape, but, well, it's just a bad sign for Zenith. When anytime they see a hero, they're all forced to just run the hell away. When's the last time you've seen Zenith go on somebody? They have Nyx, Shadow Demon, or Nyx, Prophet, and Storm. This is a lineup that goes on people and kills stuff, but all their lineup's been doing this entire game is running for their lives.
They tried in the bot jungle, I believe in this area here as they ran to the left, but there was a gem picked up, so they walked right into a trap and they lost a couple of heroes. I mean, at this point, it's very, very difficult to come back when Zhou has this much farm, and a Windrunner is doing something equivalent with a Hex and a Sheep already.
And Zhou's got his heart now. The heart's on the way, and it's going to make him very hard to deal with in the next fight. The good news is OD can actually kill his illusions fairly quickly with his orb, but you're still taking a lot of damage from that, and there's still going to be a lot of Radiance burn, and it doesn't really help you deal too much with the main hero. 3,000 HP. Zenith, they'll have a Scythe device fairly soon on a couple of these heroes. Prophet's just picked one up for the Obsidian Destroyer, Outworld Destroyer of Yamate. He's up to 2,300 gold. Maybe he'll get it soon, but IG, I think with the heart being online, they can finally just take fights head on and have absolutely no fear of anything from Zenith. And with that being said, they'll walk right into Roche. No vision for this. No Observer Wards in the lane. No Observer Wards in the Dire Secret Shop. They wouldn't do this unless they knew they were incredibly far ahead, which, in fact, they are.
We actually do have one ward from the Dire team. It possibly did spot a little stripe of vision here. They may know that they're in the Roshan pit, but the ward times out just now, so they're grouping up a bit, but it doesn't really look like they're going to give this a shot. I just don't think they can win the team fight against those heroes.
And Zenith, they have to know this is going on, like you point out. There's an Observer Ward there. Actually, IG are going to back off for the time being. They haunted for this. Are they going to go? Oh, that was kind of a wasted haunt there. This might be... Oh, actually, they'll go top lane. They will find the OD. They've relocated in for this. And now Yamate's going to drop. Wow. Haunt for the OD, not a bad trade. I mean, for Zenith, it's pretty much like anytime haunt happens, you expect to lose one hero. If you lose more, then it's bad. But losing one is nearly a given.
Yeah, so a nice gank from him. He's going to shift right back to the mid lane once again. Sitting on treads at the moment with the drum still, and just a lot of HP. The reason you stack HP over something like damage items is because you want to make sure.
Oh, force staff forward. YWAF's got a Hex of his own. He's going to look to go X Freedom. Look at it go. He really exploded there.
Yeah, didn't actually land the shackle, but they did a follow-up stun, so it was good.
Yeah, he got hexed and then just died to nukes. I mean, look at his HP. What is even... Oh, he can't see because he's dead now, but I imagine it's under 1,000 or right around it. Doesn't even have a bracer, so probably a sub 1,000. The Nyx is 967 with one bracer. Those two heroes just died to Haunt, pretty much. That's really scary.
Seeing Orb on XY on the mid lane. He's going to drop a TP scroll for free. He's actually balling in. He wants to steal the Roshan. It's pretty close. Pops the BKB as well. He's right-clicking desperately. Can he get it? Dire gets it. Spectre snatches the Aegis though, so some good gold advantage going to Zenith, but this is going to be Stormspirit paying for it with his life. He does no or no mana regen at all here. Easy burst damage. Is that an Aghanims? Oh my gosh.
I think he's even had it for a while. He's up to 1,200 gold. I've seen the 3 familiars flying around for a bit, but
okay.
Yeah, that's a sign of the times. If your offensive Trialing Visage has an Aghanims at 36 minutes in, as well as Arcane Boots and another 1,200 gold, and he's just been constantly aggressive around the map, that's really impressive stuff. And for Zenith, the Storm Spirit jumping in there, XY just had to go for that. They're so far behind, they needed something huge, like killing Roshan and stealing the Aegis. Unfortunately, the timing was just slightly off. They don't really have a great lineup to give vision unless the Shadow Demon's nearby, but, well, he was busy getting picked off right before that fight. So they went for a play, it didn't work. Can't really blame him for that. I feel like the reason Zenith's in trouble right now is nothing to do with... Oh, we'll see a Haunt, top lane. It's going to be Ice caught out. The Eul Scepter really coming in handy to cancel those TPs, and now Zhou, despite being hexed up, will be able to finish this kill. It'll actually go to 430. You have to split push or they're going to take your base, but while you're busy split pushing, they just relocate and insta-kill you.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about Spectre. It's great against Tinker, it's great against Nature's Prophet, it's pretty okay against Storm Spirit. He has a pretty easy escape, but even still, Yasha now picked up by Spectre. It's most likely going to be a Manta style afterwards. You don't really need a Fusel Blade if you go Radiance, but the extra illusions... Manta is just all around a great item for illusion heroes, man. You get extra HP, more damage, more int, all that good stuff.
It's a better late game item as well. I mean, the Diffusal Blade, it makes your ult really strong, but the Manta just helps you fight in general. And if Zenith did want to go for something like a Scythe Device or an Orchid, obviously helps you deal with that. Even the Scythe Device, it's hard to know which one to hex. It just creates more chaos in the fights. We'll see what he goes for. Even a casual Yasha is fine if he wants to go back for a Butterfly or a Diffusal Blade from here. He's tanky as hell. It should mostly be damage for Zhou the rest of the way. Not that he needs it, because he's got that in spades too. And IG, they can just A-click towards the enemy base. Zenith really have no way of stopping this.
Yeah, absolutely not. They have so many hexes. They have they have the triple birds. They have what Puck wants to work with, which is going to be a Blink Dagger plus combos. Spectre can die twice. That's a pretty good sign. So.
And I think he is enough for a buyback haunt on top of that. The reliable gold is 1160, buyback ready at 1400, but he's also got a lot more on top of it. Yeah, he's got the buyback. They'll take the tower. I don't think they can kill him once, let alone 3 times. Zhou, well, he's going to go in now. The double familiars have spotted out Ice. Now blinking from 430, but he gets hexed up. XY trying to turn this one around for his team. Can he make the big plays? They find 1 kill, but Shackle catches 2. YYF, he invented Windrunner, and he's showing why here. 2 heroes driven back to the fountain, and that's it, folks.
Yeah, almost. I mean, it looks like it's possible good game material. Top tower is going to be killed. Zhou almost went down there, actually. Disruption on illusions of himself are actually really strong. They get mirrors of his agility and his base damage, which do a lot. But most importantly, he was completely solo there, and he was taking full Desolate damage from his own illusions. He went all the way down to like 30%.
Zenith just have nowhere to go. XY's been lifted up, thrown back into a triple familiar stun. Chuan says, screw Micro. I'm going all in. And now Zenith, well, they've ran away from the base because their base is no longer safe. Home is in trouble. But the Haunt's going to find Ice anyway. YYF drives him to his next death, to an early grave. And Zenith, they get absolutely clobbered in game 1. I don't know if it's fair to say IG are back yet. It's only 1 game.
Yeah.
Zenith kind of drafted themselves into a corner with the way the lanes developed. But it's a good start for IG. It's definitely a good start.
They're going on Ice in the bot lane, looking for some initiation. XY thinking about popping his BKB, but he's saving it. Look at that. Got an extra 2 seconds on him. He does put Chuan down into the ground, getting a second kill. Will they get a third? Zhou is running, but he's at about half HP. There's the Hex, actually, and will Yamate be able to get it? The right click actually results in his own death. Zhou is going to go down. I'm sorry. Yeah, Zhou does end up going down. Here comes the respawn as well. Ice running for his life, and I think that's the end of the round.
He's 12-1 and 17. That's a safe lane solo Spectre. I mean, for any Spectre, that's ridiculous. I just can't stress enough how hard Zhou crushed Zenith in this game. One of the most ridiculous Spectre performances you will ever see, and he did it. I mentioned IG don't normally give Zhou a whole lot of help. He got pulled 2 sets of regen. Yeah. For a safe lane Spectre, that's basically no help at all, and he still did total work this game.
Yeah, he really did do a great job. So, buys something? What did he buy? Anything? He said Yasha.
Did he buy this gem? No, something's probably coming on the courier.
Maybe he
completed
didn't buy
style.
anything, and therefore he just walked past the shop. That was my guess. Not the fact. It is a Manta style on the way, so now he can basically go into melee range. It's kind of similar to what AM does, except AM can obviously blink, but run into melee range, find the squishy hero you want to kill, pop the Manta, right-click the guy till his mana drains, and have a good time. I'm sorry. Whoa. My brain stopped working. I started thinking about anti-mage all of a sudden.
Just tripping balls,
Holy
guys.
shit.
I think he just popped some LSD by accident. I'm just kidding. But
no, it's so true.
It's been a long day for you, and we'll have one more game after this. For IG, they've taken game 1, but it's a best-of-2 format, so it's entirely possible that Zenith will bounce back. They split 1-1 with Orange. They looked really good in game 1. They looked pretty silly in game 2 in defeat. And end of the day, with this format, doesn't matter how hard you get beaten down in one game, it's still just one game.
Yep. So they can come back, and they went 1-1 earlier today, so their standing isn't that bad either. So 1-1 isn't too bad. And if IG does end up looking a little squishier or less strong, like they did in the last tournament, they could end up going 1-1 today.
They'll push in the bottom lane now. IG, clicking their way to victory. Zenith, in true Zenith fashion, trolling, refusing to end the game. The last fight, it all comes down to this. Zhou jumps in with the Manta. OD ult, barely even scratches him. He's slicing and dicing. He gets disrupted. His own illusions could be the secret weapon for Zenith. Just kidding. Zhou still at full HP. Another shackle on 2. And IG steamroll their way to a game 1 victory. They put a feather in their own caps, and they basically bring Zenith to the pavement and curb stomp them for a while. I have not seen a beatdown as hard as this in a long time.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive. I mean, Zhou has only died 1 time there. The one time he did, he was versus 3 heroes. He almost got 2 kills, was able to pick off, I believe, one of the supports or something like that. But regardless, pretty much perfect game out of him. He got tons of steamroll out of the Nature's Prophet lane. He got lots of last hits. He got more last hits than an opponent. He was able to use Haunt and go for solo kills. That worked out really well for them. Even when Zenith got their supports up to good levels and went ganking with them with the Nyx Assassin and the Shadow Demon, it still just didn't work out that great for them. They kept getting countered by Sentry Wards. They got the gem at the perfect time. It was like every single timing window that Zenith was going for just got shut down. And most importantly, Storm Spirit did not have a good game. He was forced to go BKB first. Outworld Destroyer on the mid lane did get a 4-staff up, but if you look at his stats, 0, 8, and 2. Lots of great evasive ganks from Yamata and other nice plays from him, but it just wasn't exactly what Zenith wanted. So that was game 1. It's going to go to IG. Pretty one-sided. LD, Blitz, what do you have to say over at the desk?
Blitz, is Spectre back? Solo Spectre against Prophet. Ends up going 17, 1, and 12, I believe it was. Highest farmer in the game. Most kills participated in the game. Zhou given virtually no support, just pulled 200 gold of regen. And IG were rolling in pretty much classic IG style.
Yeah, YYF did what he normally does. He was absolutely dominating on that win earner. I think you mentioned that he had absolutely crushed that top lane.
Yeah.
I mean, it just felt like they kind of did what the classic IG did. They didn't really give him too much help, but YYF was able to get rolling. Ferrari finally, starting to pick up the pace again, and it just looked like Zenith's draft was just a little bit greedy.
Yeah.
Picking a Storm like that, wasn't able to do a whole lot that entire game. I mean, if you do go for that BKB off the bat, you're going to be useless for the most part.
And the thing was, they went Storm, and then I think then the puck was the response from IG. So Zenith, they go OD, and they say, okay, we're going to get you think your puck can beat our Storm mid, we're going to throw an OD his way, we'll win the mid lane, and then we'll put a safe lane Storm. They really expected IG to go defensive tri-lane. Even the way that Ice itemized, he built a lot of regen, he had an early rate. It felt like they weren't prepared for the solo Spectre, and that kind of really screwed them in the laning stage.
Yeah, definitely. Putting that solo Spectre there, I mean, it does pretty decently.
It's not something you expect. I mean, I've never seen a team do that before.
Yeah, it's kind of like the same principle of putting any solo, like, short lane, once you give him some regen,
like
you
an
expect him to
anti-mid
do
or something.
okay, right?
Yeah.
And Spectre's not that bad, actually, just because he's naturally tanky. The dagger is pretty good, being able to get over the trees and stuff like that. It's good defensive ability, so a Nature's Prophet can't really kill him.
Yeah. He can harass him, maybe out-farms him, but he's not going to die.
Yeah, and it was a good trade because the Storm got so little. Like, he actually got nothing in terms of the way of levels or farm.
I felt like there was nothing Zenith could have done differently at that point, though. I mean, what can you really do? It's not like you can rotate the Prophet to that lane. Prophet's going to die to that tri-lane. If you tri-lane the Storm offensively on the Dire side, you can't even pull camps. They needed a level 6 on their Nyx Assassin as quickly as possible. So I feel like they just got laned and drafted into a corner. It was, to me, it almost felt like checkmate just from the laning stage, unless Yamate could just completely snowball out of control, because that was the one lane they were dominated, was the OD versus puck mid, but he got ganked a few times, got shut down, and that was pretty much all she wrote.
It felt like the old IG where they were finally, they kind of boxed you in a corner with the draft. I think that's what, when I read an interview with Brax, he said, sometimes we just got outdrafted by IG when they played against each other. And that's just kind of what IG did when they were in their heyday. They would kind of box you in a corner, they get the advantageous lanes out, and then YYF, would just dominate you, Zhao would just kind of snowball, and then Ferrari would just create space everywhere. And so that kind of felt like a more classic style of IG that we're used to seeing.
And I liked the Spectre pick because it allowed them to just go fight. And they're a team to me that is best when they're fighting early and often.
Yes.
So guys, that wraps up Game 1. IG takes Game 1 versus Zenith, of course. It's a best-of-2 format. Can Zenith bounce back and sit at 2-2 in the group, or will they lose this one and drop to 1-3? We'll find out after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to game number 2 of IG versus Zenith. It's a group stage match for the Alienware Cup, brought to you by Alienware, MasterCard, the sponsors, as well as DPM Interactive, our organizer, tirelessly working, DPM Licious. Shout out to her. With that being said, game 2 now going to be getting underway. IG steamrolled their way through Zenith in game 1. They really crushed it with a safe lane Spectre, an offensive trialing YYF on his classic, iconic Windrunner, and 430. Great puck performance from him. They march into game 2 with a lot of momentum. Yeah,
they had maybe one major mistake in their trialing. That was about all I saw where Chuan got initiated on. They lost 2 heroes. But other than that, everything else went pretty perfectly. I think they are really back up to swing. Everything looks solid. Their draft was great. I loved all their hero picks. And as a whole, things are changing all of a sudden. Enchantress first pick with an Alchemist.
They'll go for a really early jungler here. 430, this is one of the, or excuse me, not 430. Chuan is a very well-known and famous jungle player. IG, there was a long period, I would say maybe 4 to 6 months, where they just weren't running junglers, and I guess before the International 2 and then for a few months after. But as of late, Chen and Enchantress in general have seen more play. They've seen a bit of a resurgence. There's been a lot of indirect buffs to junglers, creeps getting stronger in general, things like the Harpies having a lot more mana even, and, well, we've seen a lot more jungle play as of late, and Chuan's going to get his hands on the Enchantress.
Yeah, I did get a chance to watch him play Chen at TI2 group stage, or maybe during the preliminaries or something.
You mean like
that.
in person?
Yeah, in person. I watched from behind him. He has this really old white keyboard. Doesn't look fancy at all, but it was really, really fun watching him. Just even little tricks.
Videotape that.
Like, seriously, just watching them jungle, like auto attack creeps.
Yeah.
They do it slightly different. Like, they know which creep is going to die in one last hit, so they do attack moves on everything. It's just a little bit more efficient than what I had seen before. So
right,
really
like if you have a creep, you let the creep get the killing blow while you start moving your hero to the next camp. Like all those random little tricks to just get slightly more efficient, always at the ruin at the right times, and all those small differences really add up.
Yep, exactly. It's really fun to watch. So if you guys want to sometime, go buy the ticket. You can check out Chuan's player perspective. You can see what he does to do everything a little faster.
Yeah, of course, only $7.99. Can't guarantee the Dota TV audio will always be great on the Perfect World servers, but you still get the first-person perspectives of all these fantastic players no matter what. Speaking of fantastic players, we'll get to see Navi in action tomorrow, I believe, so looking forward to that. But for today, IG versus Zenith, our final match of the evening. And Zenith, they never fail to disappoint their fans with their drafts, if not with their play. And the go for Slark here is something we have not seen, I think, ever from them. At least I've never seen them run it before.
I'm honestly not surprised at all about the pick, though. Ever since the Eastern qualifiers, I'm sorry, the Western qualifiers, where teams like, was it AL, I believe? I think AL was drafting Slark a lot, putting him in a mid-roll. Miguel was playing him, I believe, and it really made the hero look quite overpowered. He's a good counter against a lot of different things, has a lot of magic bursts, is pretty survivable, and is kind of a niche pickup every once in a while where some teams do decide to run him. So seeing Zenith draft him here doesn't surprise me that much. Great against Alchemist because he can pretty much dodge the stun. He'll take the damage, of course, but being able to remove the stun duration is really useful.
It's also fantastic against Enchantress ganks because as long as you get Dark Pact off, there's just no way that anything will kill you.
Yeah, she's not exactly the strongest ganker. She'll have a fairly weak slow, and then whatever her creeps have. So it usually requires pretty good micro to be able to score kills on Enchantress.
Yeah, ganks. And any of the nukes the creeps would throw, the Stomp, the Clap from the Ursa or the Centaur, they have to get very close to do it, so plenty of time to channel Dark Pact. But with that being said, well, we'll see a Gyrocopter ban from IG. Banning out, it looks like they just want to get rid of a lot of the strong 5-man turtling heroes. And this makes a lot of sense against Zenith, because we saw what they did in Game 1 versus Arndt when they had successes. This is a team that loves to build very strong defensive lineups, heroes like Darkseer, Tinker, Earthshaker, stall the game and make it hard to take their towers, and then split push on behind that very strong defense. So they remove the strong defensive heroes, they go for the Prophet, and we may see IG just kind of spreading the map and looking to just face rush Zenith in the mid game. Early tower dies with the Enchantress creeps, Prophet teleports. If they want to play that way, that's an option. If they want to back off and just go greedy, they can just look for early Midas as an Alchemist, or on Prophet, an early Battlefield and Alchemist, and angle for more mid to late game. So a lot of options here for IG.
Yeah, wow, actually going to see a Wisp pick up for Zenith. They could combo this with the Slark or draft up something else later. It doesn't have to be Chaos Knight necessarily. We've seen PA being used effectively by Alliance and other heroes and teams. I'm a little worried about Invictus's draft at the moment because of their lack of stuns, though. Slark can obviously block a lot of stuff, but Sprout is going to be very worthless against Slark because he can leap pretty often every 4 seconds or so. Enchantress is a limit on disables as well, and Alchemist just has his 1 stun. So hopefully for them, they get a little bit more burst damage. Nature's Prophet is weak burst damage early. Enchantress can do okay with Impetus if they have sentries down, but I think Slark's going to have a heyday against these hero drafts at the moment.
Yeah, this is pretty confident to go for IO here because, well, IG, they're going to disrupt the Wisp pick. They're going to remove the obvious combo choice in the CK. A clear block pick from them.
Yeah, something Blitz has said multiple times in the last couple of days. He says, well, the Wisp and Chaos Knight combo is perfect. If you pick the Wisp, your opponent's not going to pick Chaos Knight because Chaos Knight is simply not very good by himself, but here it is. Chaos Knight is drafted on IG. This is like the man, I would love to see the stat once we get in game, how often Chaos Knight is played without Wisp, because I feel like it's every single game. I mean, sometimes you can do things like Ancient Apparition Chaos Knight, but it's honestly very rare.
I'm sure Kpoptosis, our stats man, you can follow him on Twitter, by the way, twitter.com/Kpoptosis. I believe he likes K-pop, obviously, but I'm sure he'll give us the more precise stats, but I know I've looked it up in the past, and Chaos Knight by himself has something like I want to say like a 50 to a 55% win rate, and with Wisp it's like 60 to 65%. So the two heroes obviously much stronger together. Now that being said, Wisp herself has somewhere around a 60% win rate at least. So it's more that the Wisp is just really good in general than that the Chaos Knight plus Wisp is much stronger than either hero by themselves. But they go Tiny Wisp, not something we've seen a lot as of late. The one issue with the Tiny pick is obviously it's ridiculous late game. We saw that at the International too with eHome, but Tiny takes a while to really come online compared to a hero like Chaos Knight.
But if he can get free farm on his safe lane, if it's an offlane Nature's Prophet, he's going to have an okay time. He has a lot better base damage than the Prophet does, and with the Wisp there, I mean, your lanes just get scary, man. I've gotten okay at offlaning now, and whenever I find Wisp lanes, it just completely throws off my entire experience. Like, I always underestimate the Wisp off lanes because it makes the carry so much faster. They get an extra disable and stun, and it really just changes the strengths. And since Nature's Prophet isn't really the strongest offlaner either, it just throws things around completely. It's like a Tiny is already going to have a lane advantage, and if you throw the movement speed and the extra stun on it, it's like, you have to be super careful.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see I don't think we'll see like an offlane Prophet this game, which would be, I think he'd have a lot of problems against Tiny Wisp, because you can toss the Wisp in, then there's a tether stun as she tethers back to Tiny. He walks in range and combos. I don't think we'll see that though. It looks to me like it's going to be a mid lane Alchemist, a safe lane Prophet, and then probably an aggressive trying Chaos Knight, Enchantress +1. There's a lot of other ways they could run it. They could jungle the Prophet and the Enchantress. They can run CK +1 mid, an Alchemist safe lane, and just abandon the off lane. So IG have options, but IG is a team to me that they're best when they get aggressive.